Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 47 based on novel. So let's start. In the dark space without sky and sun, at the moment, I can only see that on the void, a strange fire cage hundreds of feet in size is shrinking rapidly with the naked eye. Outside the cage, Jiyu Yuzheng looked at the black wood with a sneer, and his eyes showed a cool color. When Xiao Yang heard the words in Guyo's mouth, his heart was immediately clear. With Guyo's wisdom, how could he not know the thoughts in Xiao Yang's heart? Of course, he would not ignore Qingmu. Immediately, Xiao Yang also threw a grateful look at Jiyu Yu again, and Jiyu Yu looked like he didn't see it, and still paid attention to Haimu. Haimu's eyes quickly scanned the strange fire cage around him, which was less than 100 feet and smaller and smaller. The whole person became anxious. He has seen the horror of the cold fire in front of him. He can't say it's hard to carry it according to his current state. Even if he gets a little, it will cause great harm to him. The current dark scene can really be called a prisoner. Under the intense gaze of Haimu, Sen's white strange fire cage finally wrapped his whole body slowly. Ah. The bursts of severe pain from the body also made him scream sharply from his mouth. But the pain came and went quickly. When the white-boned spirit cold fire left dark and strange runes on Haimu, it dissipated. At this time, Haimu was frightened to find that the fighting spirit in the cyclone in his body was completely sealed while the different fire disperse. Without the support of fighting spirit, Blackwood at this time is like an ordinary old man and can no longer pose any threat to Xiao Yang. In Blackwood's current state, I'm afraid that an initial cultivator at the fighter level can kill him at will. It is really surprising to think that a once strong Yuanzong is now inferior to ordinary people. Cough. Unexpectedly, I planned for thousands of years and finally lost to a smelly boy like you. Boy, after I leave the Shenling family again, I must search all over the mainland and kill you to preach. Coughing up a mouthful of scarlet blood, Haimu slowly raised his eyes and looked at Xiao Yang with a resentful face. The blood at the corners of his mouth made him look more bloodthirsty at this time. Hearing this, Xiao Yang smiled at the corners of his mouth, looked at one side and looked at Haimu's bones. Then he looked at Haimu and said with a smile, "Since Jiyu Laro has sealed your fighting spirit, he doesn't intend to let you continue to live. Don't you even notice this?" As soon as he said this, Blackwood first set his eyes, then changed his face, showed a sneer, opened his mouth and laughed. "Ha ha. Cough. Why, can you really kill me by force regardless of Qingmu's life and death? I tell you, I have completely integrated with Qingmu's body now. If I die, Qingmu will die. Since you want to kill me, you'd better step on Qingmu's body first. How about, come on, kill this Buddha and it's all over." For the words in Xiao Yang's mouth, Haimu looked disapproval, completely ignoring Xiao Yang's words. With their special body of Shenling family, Haimu at the moment has already perfectly integrated the soul with Orochi's body. Although the strength of Guyo is not weak, it seems to Haimu that it is at most a high-level source sect. As long as he hasn't broken through that barrier, with his current strength, he can't completely separate his soul from Orochi's body. "I really thought I didn't dare to kill you." With a cold drink, Guyo stretched out his hand, and a terrible suction suddenly appeared in the palm of his hand, pulling Blackwood a few feet away to the front. With a big hand, he pinched Blackwood's neck in the palm of his hand. Although the Shenling clan is special, it's no big deal in front of me. It's easy to extract your soul." The voice fell, but the palm of Jiyu Yu pinching Haimu's neck was suddenly loosened, and Haimu's red face was relaxed at this moment. But without waiting for Ebony to concentrate, the bony palm was suddenly like a claw. Then, in Ebony's frightened eyes, he made a fierce force and ruthlessly inserted it into Ebony's heart. At this moment, Haimu's body suddenly stiffened, and the whole person seemed to turn into a piece of wood. He was fixed in the void and didn't move. He didn't expect that Guyo said to do it, and there was no room for his hands. Xiao Yang, who was watching, was shocked by the scene in front of him for a while. For a time, he was stunned. Heart, that is the source of life of all creatures. Once it is destroyed, it will die. Although their strength has reached such a point that they can survive even without their flesh, their hearts are damaged, which will certainly damage their souls. Is this what they want to see? This scene at the moment is really scary enough. But he didn't say much. Guyo had pulled out the palm inserted into Blackwood's chest, but when Xiao Yang looked at it again, he was shocked by the scene in front of him again. What appeared in the palm of Guyo was not a bloody heart he imagined, but a section of palm-sized, tender yellow tree root. At the moment, there was a layer of grey and black fog on the surface of the whole yellow tree root, and even 1/3 of the tree root had turned into pitch black. As soon as he saw the dark fog above the tree roots, Xiao Yang immediately understood that those parts should belong to Blackwood. As long as the black can be removed, Qingmu can wake up completely. You. Who on earth are you, and why do you know so many things about the Spirit Clan? At this time, the voice of Haimu's frightened words came again. He didn't expect that the Bonyu in front of him would know the fatal place of his Shenling family. However, as long as some forces are okay, they will know that the most precious thing of the Shenling family is the Shenling root. Blackwood's words, in exchange for a bone-quiet sneer, and the result, also makes Blackwood's soul more frightened. Jiuyu is right. In the Shenling family, the most precious thing is the Shenling root, which is also true in the eyes of external humans. For the people of Shenling root and Shenling family, it is the lifeline and the most precious thing, but in other races, it is the treasure of heaven and earth, which will cause death for the Shenling family. This is also one of the many reasons why the Shenling family decided to hide from the world. But at the moment, what Haimu really fears is not that Guyo knows the secret of his Shenling family, but more about his fear of strange fire. The Shenling clan is a kind of plant and is naturally restrained by different fire. Generally speaking, even if the other party knows about Shenling root, he can be completely unafraid, but if there is different fire, it's another matter. Shenlingen is regarded as the most precious treasure of heaven and earth. At the same time, its hardness is enough to amaze the world. The strength gained after thousands of years of cultivation also gives the ginseng spirit root its tenacity. The hardness of the ginseng spirit root is no less than that of some extremely rare metal materials on the mainland. Ordinary weapons can't do any damage to ginseng spirit root. Only some weapons that can really be called divine weapons can forcibly cut them off. Of course, with this point in your hand, with your strength and the source chi in your body, you can break one of your hand. However, the consequences of doing so are clear without much thought. Of course, Haimu will die, and Qingmu will not survive. Throw the ginseng spirit root in your palm into the void in front of you. Jiuyu's heart moves. With a puff, a flaming forest white flame wraps the ginseng spirit root inside. At that time, in the flames, there was a painful roar. Listening to this sound, it was Blackwood. Ah, you, madman. If you dare to go on like this, even if I will die, Aoki, I will die. The sharp pain from the soul makes Haimu more and more painful, but he still reluctantly threatens Guyo with green wood. Cut. It's really noisy. Don't you realize that Aoki's soul is slowly recovering while your soul strength is gradually weakening? Hearing the words in Guyo's mouth, the strange fire group was quiet for a few seconds, but after Haimu recovered, he suddenly roared intermittently. No way. How could this be possible? Even if you control the bone spirit cold fire perfectly, how could this be possible? No. It's impossible. You. In Haimu's exploration just now, he was surprised to find that when the ginseng spirit root was refined by different fire, the souls of him and Aoki were only his soul power, and were burned by different fire, while Aoki was undamaged. Even under the burning of the different fire, the spirit root, the soul of Qingmu and the soul of Haimu are in the different fire at the moment. Among the three, only Haimu is being refined by the different fire. Even the root hairs visible to the naked eye on the root epidermis of Shenling have not been incinerated by different fire. And this, in Haimu's view, is completely impossible. Even if the other party is a high-level herbalist, his control of different fire has reached a state of ecstasy, but different fire is different fire after all. No matter how, it is also a natural thing to raise, and it is the most violent force in heaven and earth. The high temperature contained in different fires, even if they are far apart, is enough to turn a piece of black iron into molten slurry, not to mention such a long distance. Even if there is bone quiet suppression at the time of release, at the moment when the bone spirit cold fire appears, at least it is enough to burn the root hair on the ginseng spirit root into nothingness. But in this situation, Guyo's control over the bone spirit cold fire is equivalent to that the two have already been integrated, and can drive the bone spirit cold fire completely like an arm. The different fire is him. He is different fire. With this in mind, Blackwood's soul was shocked like a lightning strike, and there was a blank in his mind. The two quiet words in the depths of his soul were slowly introduced into his mind. Fire spirit. Fire. Fire spirit. Almost silently spit out these two words, Blackwood time seems to have lost all strength. The whole soul is solidified, and the already weak breath dissipates rapidly. Fire spirit, with these 2 words, is enough to completely make Haimu lose all his thoughts. Although the voice of words in Haimu's mouth was almost undetectable, who was Guyo? At his present level, even the sound of wind blowing and falling leaves could be heard clearly, not to mention such a close distance. Okay, I won't spend more time with you. Now, you original strongman of Yuanzong, just get out of here. A cold drink, Guyo took advantage of the blackwood breath to reach the most depressed moment, and the dry palm suddenly covered the ginseng spirit root. At the same time, the terrible soul power surged out of the palm and quickly poured into the ginseng spirit root, forcibly cut off all the connections between the ebony soul and the ginseng spirit root, and imprisoned it with the soul power. However, I don't know whether it is intentional or unintentional. When the soul power of Guyo wraps the soul of Haimu, it also wraps the soul of Qingmu with it. Jiuyu's overbearing behavior also brought a painful roar to the soul. Immediately after that, the pure light burst from Guyo's eyes, and the protruding palm suddenly grasped it in the void. Invisibly, it seemed that something was caught in the palm of his hand at this moment. The withered palm slowly retracted, and the bone spirit cold fire wrapped around the ginseng spirit root dissipated with it. The different fire dispersed, and the ginseng spirit root was exposed in the void again. The small part of Shenling root, which had become dark because it was occupied by Haimu's soul, now seems to have dissipated completely. Although there is still some grey mist on it, those can be solved by themselves as long as the green wood is restored. Holding the palm slowly spread out. At the moment, in the bone-quiet palm, a dark soul is shaking like a black fog. Cut. Looking at the ebony trembling in his palm, Jiu gave another sneer of disdain. Then he turned his eyes to Xiao Yang. He threw Haimu's soul into the void in front of Xiao Yang. Guyo shrugged lazily and said slowly, "Next, you know what to do." Xiao Yang looked at the black wood trembling in the void in front of his eyes. Naturally, he understood the meaning of Guyo's words, but when he turned his eyes to Guyo, the latter turned his body and flew away towards the depths of this space. At the moment, the fighting spirit in Haimu's body is sealed, and his soul is seriously damaged. It can't pose any threat to Xiao Yang. Therefore, Guyo can naturally leave at ease. Condensing the back of Jiu, Xiao Yang's mouth slowly floated a sincere smile. When Jiu's body was getting away, Xiao Yang slowly spit out 4 words in his mouth. "Thank you, old bone." At the moment when Xiao Yang said this, the bones flying in the distant void were quiet, but his ears moved slightly, his mouth hissed slightly, and the corners of his mouth slowly aroused a smile. Then, his eyes lifted up, and the light in Sen's white pupils twinkled and looked into the depths of this space. The secret of spirit participation, let me see what it looks like. In the void, Xiao Yang sat cross-legged on it, his eyes slightly closed, his breath restrained and his body motionless. At a glance, it was like a sculpture. If it weren't for his ruddy cheeks and slightly undulating chest, I'm afraid anyone would think it was a dead man. At this moment, among the cyclones in Xiao Yang's body, the 9-grade Huichi pills are releasing a magnificent fighting spirit. Under the refining and purification of different fire, they all belong to the cyclonic space. As these pills were gradually refined, Xiao Yang's depressed breath also slowly recovered. Although Xiao Yang's breath is still less than 1/10 of the peak period, it is enough to support Xiao Yang at least. A moment later, when the pill in the body was completely refined, Xiao Yang's breath became calm and deep again. Although there was still a gap compared with the peak period, that was not what Xiao Yang should consider at the moment. At present, what Xiao Yang should consider is how to entertain the friend in his precepts at the moment. As soon as the corners of his mouth smiled, Xiao Yang's palm turned out of thin air. With a flash of light on the ring, a palm-sized jade bottle appeared in Xiao Yang's palm. When the jade bottle was opened, a painful roar came in response, which made Xiao Yang's smile look cold. Xiao Yang is not a murderous man. He has no intention to provoke others. However, he will never be soft-hearted towards his enemies. The heart read a move, the strange fire in the jade bottle quietly dispersed, and then followed by a painted black shadow, which was also frightened and flew out quickly, but it was grasped in the palm of Xiao Yanni's hand. This man is the Blackwood who has been sealed by Guyo. In order to scold in time, in Xiao Yang's palm, another terrible fire surged up and wrapped it. The terrible strange fire is like a strange beast, crazy and biting his soul. At the moment, he, who was once a strongman of Yuanzong, finally forgot his past glory and tried his best to resist the terrible strange fire around him. After a painful howl, Xiao Yang finally opened his hand slowly and the fire dispersed. Haimu was an exhausted figure and finally had a chance to breathe. "How about my strange fire? How are you?" At the moment of hearing this sentence, Haimu's body shivered involuntarily, raised his head and saw Xiao Yang like a giant god in front of him. His anger was even worse in his heart. But thinking about the horror of the strange fire, Haimu still couldn't help being excited all over, calmed down and tried to calm himself down. Then he looked at Xiao Yang's eyes and said with a sneer, "Those two kinds of different fires are the falling heart inflammation, the 14th in the list of different fires, and the net lotus demon fire, the 3rd. Xiao Yang was not surprised that Haimu could recognize two different fires. It was normal with Haimu's experience. However, Haimu's next words made Xiao Yang feel surprised. "It's just a pity. It's just two fires. Compared with the real original fire, it's a difference of 18,000 miles. Heh." Hearing this, Xiao Yang couldn't help picking his eyebrows. Unexpectedly, the blackwood in front of him could recognize that his strange fire was not the source. Seeing the stunned look on Xiao Yang's face, Haimu also gave a sneer and said sarcastically, The former was lucky to have seen these two different fires when he was brilliant. I don't know how many times more powerful than your different fire. As for the latter, although I have never seen it, I can imagine it only by virtue of the power of the former." Hearing Haimu's words, Xiao Yang also understood, but the sneer at the corners of his mouth didn't drop a penny. The other palm poked out of thin air. With a move, the brilliance in the palm appeared. Then, a huge medicine tripod flew out and suspended in the palm of Xiao Yang. At a glance, the huge tripod body gives people a feeling of vastness and vastness. What is painted on the tripod body is this heaven and earth. Everything between heaven and earth, creatures, earth, sky and ocean are all covered. The medicine tripod is thick and full of a sense of domineering power. This tripod must be extraordinary from the appearance alone, and this medicine tripod is the Luo Tiantian tripod. Ha ha! Since Master Haimu's eyes are so fierce, I think you can recognize this medicine tripod at a glance. Xiao Yang smiled faintly and looked at the blackwood in the palm of his hand with a smile. At the moment, Haimu's sarcasm on his face the moment before turned into shock again. With his experience, although few people know the medicine tripod in front of him, he still recognizes it. This medicine tripod is the second in the list of Tianding. Luo Tiantian tripod. Luo Tiantian tripod. The patterns on the tripod are based on the whole continent. The whole continent is painted on it. It can be called a masterpiece. It has even been said that getting Luotian Shending is equivalent to getting a detailed map of the whole continent, and it is unknown whether it is the Yuanwu continent. After all, even Xiao Yang himself came from Duqi mainland. Who can be sure that Luo Tianding came from Yuanwu mainland? With this alone, Luotian tripod is enough to hold down other ranked medicine tripods on the Tianding list, and the only one that can hold down Luotian tripod is the most mysterious medicine tripod that ranked first on the tripod list that day. Mutter. After swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Haimu turned his eyes to Xiao Yang again. There was no need to say more about the surprise in his eyes. After a long time, Haimu said word by word. Luo Tiantian tripod. Unexpectedly, this thing has been competing with each other on the mainland for thousands of years. The owner doesn't know how many have been changed, and finally it will fall into your hand. Oh, good luck, but I didn't just show it to you today. As soon as the voice fell, Xiao Yang waved Luo Tianding's palm fiercely, and the Luo Tianding in his palm suddenly flew out, suspended in the void in front of him under the control of Xiao Yang's mind. Immediately, accompanied by a crisp snap of fingers and a bang in the Luo Tianding, two terrible different fires surged and burned. Two different fires are rising in the cauldron furnace, and the increase of the medicine cauldron makes the two different fires look more powerful at the moment. Blackwood looked at the scene in front of him and frowned. Looking at this posture, he looked like alchemy, but Xiao Yang must be aimed at him at the moment. How can he have time to alchemy? Thinking of that possibility, Blackwood immediately felt a deep chill. He was extremely frightened in his heart. He moved his body and wanted to escape from Xiao Yang's palm. However, just when his body shape just moved, there was a puff in the space around him, rising a raging fire and blocking it. Rock Owl. How dare you? If you turn a creature into a pill, you will violate the laws and regulations of Dantar. Dantar will not let you go. Bastard. The burning of different fire made Haimu scream in pain, but he knew that the most important thing at the moment was not the different fire around him, but Xiao Yang who was about to start. If you can't threaten Xiao Yang with any reason, he will never stop. Haimu doesn't want to be refined into Dan. He can't bear the pain of doing that. Just after Haimu spits out his words, Xiao Yang seems to be afraid of Haimu's threat. His mind moves and dissipates the strange fire on Haimu. The strange fire dispersed. Haimuqiang endured the pain from his soul, stared at Xiao Yang, and shouted in a cold voice. Rock Owl, if you really dare to do it, wait for Dantar to block it. Dantar's laws and regulations will never be violated. Oh, really? But I'm here. Can Dantar take care of it? Even if I refine you into a pill, will Dantar know? Moreover, this is the mainland border. Dantar won't do that kind of boring thing to chase and kill a half-emperor to the mainland border. Besides, I said I would refine you into pills again. I can't do that kind of thing. When the voice fell, Xiao Yang grabbed Haimu's soul and read it. The lid of Luo Tian tripod opened and threw it into the medicine tripod. Looking at the huge medicine tripod in front of him, Xiao Yang was helpless. If there was not much left, he wouldn't bother to use this method to refine Haimu's soul. In order to refine Haimu's soul to the purest level, so that Xiao Xian's residual soul can be absorbed, Xiao Yang really tried his best, but I don't know how long it will take for Xiao Xian to really recover. With a sigh in his heart, Xiao Yang's eyes slowly raised and looked at the black wood being refined by different fire in the medicine tripod. Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly looked more determined. No matter how long, we must restore the soul of our ancestors. No matter how long, we must let him see the current Xiao family. With the fluctuation of Xiao Yang's state of mind, the strange fire in the medicine tripod suddenly became more fierce and violent. The blazing strange fire tore the soul of Haimu like two male lions. Refining, from now on. In the void, Xiao Yang sat in front of Luo Tianding, his eyes closed slightly, and his mind poured into the medicine tripod in front of him. Refining soul is different from refining pills. Although the process is monotonous and simple, it is also difficult to refine it. Refining the soul is not as cumbersome as refining pills, but it needs to be more focused during refining and can't pass a trace of impurities. Otherwise, not according to Xiao Yang, if you integrate it into the remnant soul of Xiao Xian, it may not be tolerated by one or two people, wouldn't it end up in smoke? This is not what Xiao Yang wants to see. Therefore, Xiao Yang must keep an eye on every moment in the process of refining his soul. Every time a wisp of soul was refined and purified by falling heart inflammation, Xiao Yang would refine it again and again 3 times with pure lotus demon fire. Although this will lose a small part of the soul that is pure enough for ordinary people, Xiao Yang is still willing to take it as a price. At the moment, the only thing Xiao Yang thinks of is to be careful. Don't lose big because of small things. This shows that Xiao Yang has great intentions for Xiao Xian. In the medicine tripod, Xiao Yang's soul power spread to every corner of the tripod and carefully controlled every link of refining in the tripod. The invisible falling heart turns into a flame palm, holding Haimu's soul in the palm, ignoring the painful roar in Haimu's mouth. Xiao Yang's heart reads a move, which is to draw out a wisp of soul origin from his body again. In order to refine Blackwood's soul enough, Xiao Yang had to pull away from his soul source bit by bit. Only like this can he refine it to the greatest extent. Of course, the disadvantage of this practice is that it takes a lot of time, but fortunately, it doesn't matter to Xiao Yang. As long as he contacts Xiao Xian's soul, he won't be anxious no matter how much time he spends. When the soul was pulled out, Xiao Yang immediately threw it into the falling heart inflammation. Under the crazy output of fighting spirit in his body, the attack of different fire was more fierce. That wisp of soul origin is like a hair. Although it is quite stubborn, the temper of different fire is even worse. The horror of falling heart inflammation can only erase most of the breath of black wood on the origin of the soul, but the rest of the work can only be done by Jinglian demon fire. For purification, falling heart inflammation is really not so good at it. At least, the falling heart inflammation at the moment is not enough to completely refine Haimu's soul. Although the meteorite heart inflammation put down the work at hand, it does not mean to stand aside. This cycle of work makes the meteorite heart inflammation still take care of Haimu. Then, after a burst of howling, the essence of the soul that has been refined has fallen into the palm of Jinglian demon fire. The pink flame lights up the space in the tripod. The grey-white hair falls into the pink fire. The two colors are mixed together, and the hair will not be too conspicuous. After the refining of falling heart inflammation, it can easily hide in the void. Of course, this can only deceive the naked eye. Under the observation of soul power, only 1/3 of the grey-black gas on it is swallowed up under the refining of different fire. Half an hour later, a grey fog invisible to the naked eye rose slowly from the source. By this time, the grey hair had turned into snow white or cloud white like that on the head of the old man at dusk. After 3 times of purification, this wisp of soul origin at the moment had been thoroughly refined. I'm afraid this wisp of soul at the moment is as much as the newborn baby. If so, Xiao Xian's soul still can't be swallowed up. Xiao Yang has to find another way to repair Xiao Xian's soul. With a long breath in his heart, Xiao Yang is twice energetic, not only because of Xiao Xian, but also because of Haimu. The most pure source of soul, Xiao Yang left it to his ancestor Xiao Xian, and those lost were carefully swallowed up by Xiao Yang. Although it can't be guaranteed that it's safe to do so, after all, he has a strange fire. It doesn't matter if he wants to refine a little in the future. While feeling the satisfaction from his soul, Xiao Yang can only comfort himself as much as possible. After all, this is the first time for Xiao Yang to eat crabs. The strength of the half-emperor devours the source of the soul of the strong. Even if there are not many, no one has tried this consequence. Throwing away the thoughts in his mind, Xiao Yang controlled the source of the pure soul, and then his mind withdrew from the Luo Tiantian Ding in front of him. As long as he had his first experience, Xiao Yang was sure that he could refine the source of the soul in the cauldron with the strength of the soul. In this way, he didn't have to stare at the medicine cauldron in front of him all the time. As for now, he wants to try to see if this wisp of soul origin can fill the first firewood for Xiao Xian's resurrection. This video will end here.